Thank you for joining us. It is the Wednesday, December 14th, 2011 edition of INFOWARS Nightly News. Another very important transmission tonight, all made possible by supporters and info warriors like you out there. Coming up, we've got Wayne Madsen joining us in a Skype interview from the National Press Club. We'll see how that goes. With breaking news concerning Fast and Furious connected to the assassination of a federal judge, the attempted assassination of Congresswoman Giffords. This breaking information coming up with investigative journalist Wayne Madsen in the second half of the broadcast tonight. Also, we had our reporters, Darren McBreen and Rob Jacobson, down at the LBJ Library and School of Affairs, Public Affairs, University of Texas. Local press reported over 100 protesters out there total against the Attorney General who showed up. And we'll be breaking down the fact that even mainstream media was not allowed to ask questions, and they told our reporters off record they wanted to bring up the government gun-running false flag, Fast and Furious. So that is coming up as well tonight. As usual, the great crew has put more on our plate than we can even possibly try to cover properly. But it's good to have too much rather than too little. Okay, let's continue with the news here. Top story, Corzine knew. And the Financial Times of London and others are reporting what Infowars.com and Zero Hedge are also reporting. Here's the headline, presenting the three unscripted sentences that may have cost John Corzine his freedom. Terry Duffy, the head of the CME Group, formerly the Chicago Mercantile, the big derivatives slash commodities group. He'd been playing along with this for a while, but in testimony, he changed it from his written testimony he'd turned in and instead said, no, I talked to top-level people. Corzine was the CEO. He knew. He took money out of sequestered, segregated accounts, people's private accounts. It's like bank robbery. And I've told the Justice Department this. So, see, he wasn't playing along with the theater that, oh, Corzine was the CEO. He doesn't know where billions went. And, of course, they knew a month ago J.P. Morgan had gotten it. And, of course, Max Kaiser today made the point that supposedly the head of J.P. Morgan Chase threatened Corzine that he would sleep with the fishes, as a Sicilian saying for having lead shoes or concrete boots, if he didn't basically get those private bank accounts of sub-companies and brokerage accounts that MF Global had taken over. But regardless, it's the first time in modern history in 150 years this has happened on the Chicago Mercantile, or CMT. Here's the clip of Terry Duffy blowing the whistle in a big, big way, and many pundits, including the reporters at the Financial Times, say this may send him to prison like Bernie Madoff. The only question is, will he end up being killed? And they'll say it's suicide like Madoff's son. A few days after Madoff spoke to the press and said all of Wall Street's a Ponzi scheme, they said, shut your mouth, old man. Your son's going to be found hanging. And, of course, he was. So that's another big question here. But let's go ahead and go to that clip.
After receiving this information, CME remained at MF Global while MF Global attempted to identify funds that could be transferred into segregation to reduce or eliminate the discrepancy. A CME auditor also participated in a phone call with senior MF Global employees wherein one employee indicated that Mr. Corzine knew about the loans that had made for the customer segregated accounts. CME Group has provided this information, names of these individuals, to the Department of Justice and the CFTC, who are investigating these matters.
And that's the problem with having crooks at the Department of Justice, is that if they're already shipping guns into Mexico and blaming the Second Amendment and destabilizing Mexico so there can be a U.S. military invasion, which is now more and more on the front burner, then of course they're going to help Corzine cover up what's going on. After all, he's the big advisor to the president, has $35,000 a plate dinners at the White House for him. So of course Corzine knew. He was the CEO. I mean, how ridiculous is this? The issue is Terry Duffy will not go down with the ship, so the rats are leaving the sinking ship. That's how we found out about the Justice Department ordering the ATF. When locals blew the whistle on the ATF and Fast and Furious, that's coming up later with the mob boss here in Austin, Eric Holder, they tried to say, well, it was just the ATF did it. And the ATF director said, you ordered me to. Here's all the memos. Don't send me to prison. And that's what these crooks should realize. There's no honor among these thieves. They don't care about each other. They're all a bunch of cutthroats who kill their mother for a stick of bubble gum. could probably rape their grandmother for $1. Now let's go ahead and go to that same day, same congressional hearing. Corzine says, I knew nothing, as he said at the hearing last week. And he's still got another one scheduled coming up, next week. And don't count on the Congress people saying, hey, the head of the major commodity group that oversaw you, you may have bought off the federal regulator, your old buddy, and having him invested with you from the CFTC, but you didn't control the private regulator. He says you're lying. We'll see if that gets raised next time he's in testimony. But let's go ahead and go to his lie saying he knew nothing.
Where is the money from funds that were supposed to be kept separate? Customer money. Mr. Steenkamp, as CFO, where's the money?
Senator, unfortunately, I do not know where the money is.
Well, who does?
I never directed anyone at MF Global to misuse customer funds.
So they don't know where it is, and he never directed them to use customer funds that were on their own private accounts. It's totally illegal. It's bank robbery, basically, under federal law. Folks, when you go and deposit a couple $1,000s, a report is sent to the federal government under Know Your Customer, under Patriot Act. $10,000, let's say you sell a car or something, you deposit it or take it out, a suspicious transaction report is filed. The government, via these wires and all the reporting agencies, knows exactly where every red cent, where every silver nickel, where every dime of that money went. And they just sit there playing this game like they don't know because Corzine won't tell them. It's a bunch of buck passing. There's a story here off the site that often has a lot of great information, Zero Hedge, and they're big Wall Street brokers and people that all write under the nom de plume or nom de guerre, Tyler Durgan. And they're saying something that a lot of analysts we've talked to have agreed with, and that is that the collapse of MF Global may have been premeditated, and they set up a shell corporation that bet on the other end and basically took all of that money. And the way they're acting is that's probably what happened here, and that it isn't just money to J.P. Morgan, as they reported part of it went to them, and that this is just a precedent-setting case to see, hell, we're already engaged in so many crimes, why not just set up shell corporations, make 40-to-1 bets we know we're going to lose? The alternative is he's completely insane, the former head of Goldman Sachs and MF Global, John Corzine, the former New Jersey governor, the big White House advisor to Obama, and thinks he's going to win 40-to-1 bets. I mean, either way, we are certainly in a lot of trouble with these people. Here's another report that just goes into all of this craziness. Bailout paycheck. Realtors double-counted home sales for the last 5 years. In 2011, Forbes 23rd most powerful women in the world. Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius was caught double counting in the Obamacare budget. Since then, the scandal has been forgotten. Deep sixed, yeah. Or if they do break the law, they should have Congress change the law retroactively. It'd be like Congress saying you can murder people. With Kathleen Sebelius, Obamacare, double counting, no one told me about it. And it goes on to report here out of this news outfit that they had reported it. Now we're hearing about bailout payback. Realtors double counted home sales for 5 years. CNBC says data on sales of previously owned U.S. homes in 2007 through October this year will be revised down next week because of double counting, indicating a much weaker housing market than previously thought. The National Association of Realtors said the benchmark exercise had revealed that some properties were listed more than once, and in some instances, new home sales were also captured. Folks, it's fraud top to bottom. The real unemployment rate's 22% or higher, 30+% in California. They say it's 9%. They just lie incessantly. So yes, 2 + 2 does equal 5 or 10 or whatever they say it does. Continuing, a Connecticut mayor, and this is a big Justice Department move. It's why Eric Holder was here in Austin last night pushing UN oversight of our elections, says that illegals should be able to vote. Okay, let me ask a question. Can I go to Cuba or Mexico or Russia or China and say, hi, I'm here illegally, I want to vote? Or can I go to Mexico and get free tuition or in-state tuition, like Mexico gets, but U.S. citizens don't get in Texas and most other states? Can I go there and get a free lunch program like the illegal children do in this country. I mean, the country's going bankrupt. Again, the issue here is that this is total and complete absolute hypocrisy, and is part of a plan of those that want people who are dependent on government who will vote for gun control and other things that aren't popular. And that's the big danger here. And we've got other mayors and people, just saying we shouldn't even have IDs to vote. I mean, can't you see what's going on here? There is 6,700,000,000 people that want to come into this country. Of course, they won't for long, because we're going to implode like all the other nations. Mexico is a failed state, and the big mega banks that have hijacked our country are helping destroy Mexico as well. I want freedom for everybody, but I can't go to Mexico and get free health care. I can't go to Mexico and be let go for DWIs. I can't do that. Why do the corporations here that run our government set up a double set of rules for illegals? We talk about Mexico because that's about 80% of the illegals in this country, because it's a third world country that's failed and is next door to us. It's because the globalists want to drive down wages, just like with Walmart and the prison labor for 20 cents an hour or less, and all of it, and the Chinese slave labor and the suicide nets. It's about a race to the bottom, and it doesn't build up China, Mexico, the U.S., or anybody. This is a globalist, parasitic program. And it's so crazy. It says they pay taxes indirectly. That's like acting like the illegals don't get services. Everybody knows they do. In Texas, they give them driver's license. And Perry says, hey, if you're from Oklahoma or Tennessee or California, you come to Texas and you're a U.S. citizen, regardless what color you are, you don't get in-state tuition, which is about half on average.